How's it going? Welcome back to another episode or another video to my ongoing, I guess, personal group project, which is this YouTube channel, as well as other YouTube channels that I may have started and forgotten about. I'm going to start trying to post a little bit more often, maybe on this one. Not that I'm getting a whole lot of views, don't really care. It's just a good way, like I've said before, of articulating my thoughts and getting kind of working through stuff as I go too. As I go through this change in my life with treatment with stem cell transplant, myelofibrosis, and also picking up some other hobbies. I am going to start another YouTube channel, or I guess maybe edit and change the title of a YouTube channel I have that's kind of dormant and start an iRacing streaming. I wouldn't say streaming. I don't have anybody subscribed to really stream or live stream, but recording and then posting and different themes with it and watching me kind of grow and do some voiceovers of things that I'm thinking about while I'm racing, and then the interactions and the communications. It should be entertaining. At least it's going to be entertaining for me and to look back on, probably years to come. Um, but it's good. I think with this channel, no, the production value is probably going to be hopefully a little bit better. I got to look into some stuff. I got to set up my mic, got to set up my camera, got to get the software and settings figured out with that. Um, but I think it's refreshing. I think you get a lot of YouTube content that's very well done, professionally well done. You get a lot of views, but you don't always get the raw side of YouTube of the average Joes doing average things or just trying to maybe make them on or above average on certain aspects, right? But very average racer, like I've said in most of my videos, average is kind of the definition of me. Maybe just above average. Got to work really hard to be really good at anything, and doing videos, talking in front of cameras or people is the same thing. So, um, that being said, I think the racing's similar, right? I've learned and I've grown and I've gotten a lot better, and just kind of talking through that and that process. So, but again, um, smoking a cigar here, nothing special. It's kind of just a generic one that I got a ton of and gotta kind of burn through. So, not gonna be doing that when I'm racing. Not inside the house. Not anytime soon. Not around that equipment. So stick to the garage till the weather warms up. But what I want to talk about today, and the topic of this video is something that recently came across, and of course I've talked about a little bit about my ongoing journey, but it's the what people have called and what others have said is the zeroing out effect. Being zeroed out. And of course, people might not know what being zeroed out is. If you want a better definition than probably what I'll fumble through, go look at what I would say would be like um, Rollo Tomasi's book, The Rational Male, on his channel. He has a couple good things. It mainly came from him where I first heard it, right, as being zeroed out. And again, being zeroed out doesn't mean um, death, right, or suicide or something like that. It could, right? That's the ultimate zero out. But I've been zeroed out before. I've been zeroed out through a divorce, a disillusion, I guess if you would say for the proper term. Um, I wouldn't say it was a total zeroed out. I mean, I got half my assets taken from me and had to pay alimony for 19 months, and then I'm continually paying child support, right? Whether that's justified or not, because I do have my daughter, roughly half the time of the year. My ex-wife's remarried to somebody that makes two, three times more than probably what I do. Does she need that child support? Probably not. Am I going to raise a stink about it because, you know, the female or the woman, the mom typically has the majority of the power, especially when it comes to family law and family court. I want to keep things civil, so I'm not really going to do anything about that. But that got me to thinking, especially if I go down this road of stem cell transplant and splenectomy, right? With myelofibrosis, that I got, doing the splenectomy obviously is going to do something, um, take some time away from me, as well as the stem cell transplant is going to be at least 3 months for that, maybe more, and then you have probably 8-week recovery for the splenectomy, which would be before that. So obviously, with working, my concern is budgeting for being on long-term disability eventually, right? How can I get around that? How can I budget? So I've been a pretty good, I would say a decent budget person, but it's all been up here. I've never put stuff down on paper. So this gives me an opportunity to start a spreadsheet, put some paper or put some numbers on paper and figure out a good budget. I've utilized AI to help me a little bit about that. Just from okay, this is what I want in like emergency fund, health emergency fund. I got some credit card debt I need to pay off. I want to pay this off, and this is how much based off my salary. So doing that, I've always turned a nose to like, especially when it comes from like your family or your parents or whatever, like, oh, you need to read Dave Ramsey's book and you need to have an emergency fund, you need to pay off credit card debt. Like it's always kind of just turned me off. Like, don't tell me what to do, I know what I'm doing. But for some reason when I see it all on paper, it almost makes me a little bit excited, because it's like I can see how I can make improvements. And again, maybe I'm a visual learner. I like numbers. I like doing spreadsheets sometimes, especially seeing where you can make a dent in some areas and have a honeypot and still budget for some stuff, and just understanding where all your money goes. That's good. But again, I kind of digress. But getting back to the whole zeroed out thing is going through this. It's going to zero me out. It's going to zero me out and put me back to behind where I'm at now. Physically, probably mentally, that's probably the most concerning, and that's one of the reasons why I want to do the iRacing thing. Is when I physically can't do stuff, I can't go out and golf, or I can't go to the gym quite yet, right? Or I can't go out on the boat that I have up here. Um, I can do that. It gives me something that can make me still goal oriented, and I can see progress, change, and improvement. So that's where I'm coming in. Again, an outlet. I'm not doing any of this YouTube stuff or any kind of like clout or intention or anything like that. Obviously, if I get subscribers, I get followers, subscribers, whatever you want to say, likes, comments, whatever. That's great, right? Little interactions always good with this, but I'm doing it for an outlet. I'm doing it for my mental sanity. I think talking through this stuff is always good and healthy too, because who wants to pay for therapy, right? This can be therapy. A little bit, maybe, I guess. So, um, anyways, probably mentioned the cigar already, but just smoking one out here. I'm not going to do that inside when I do iRacing, but I'll smoke one in the garage, of course, when waiting for it to warm up. But I'm going to get zeroed out. Yeah. So, segue back. Squirrel, little ADHD, right? I think maybe this helps it. Um, physically, I'm going to be able to do some same stuff. And then financially, right? It's like, shoot, if I have to go on long term disability, I'm getting 60% or 66% of my base salary. How am I going to afford the things that I currently got, right? And then it gets me thinking, your priorities change when you get older, right? I have a nice new GMC truck, Sierra, right? It's nothing to write home about, but prices of vehicles have gone up, since the last 10 years, right? So, $70,000 vehicle. Do I really need a $70,000 vehicle? What value is it bringing to me? Do I need a full size 4-door pickup truck? Do I use the bed that much? I mean, I mainly put golf clubs in it, right? My daughter takes up one seat, you know? So I could downsize. I could get a cheaper vehicle, right? It's not like I'm picking up pussy in it. like I'm a teenage kid, right? Like, who cares at this point in my life? The boat, you know, given that the payment's fairly cheap, the rack storage for the summer is already paid for, you could probably keep it, right? But if you had to sell it, you could sell it. I can get what I owe out of it pretty easily, and then you can always bounce back and get another one, right? And then I contemplated, okay, well, what if you take a loan out on your 401k? How What if you do that to justify some spending? The loan out of your 401k. I don't know if that's a smart idea, a smart play. You would be paying yourself back. You wouldn't be paying somebody else, which would be good. And then there still may be fees and penalties for that. There's a couple other things you could do from emergency situation and a health situation. There's a thing I signed up for work, which is like what's it called? Critical illness and injury. I think it's mainly critical illness, but you have to be diagnosed with the illness post sign up. So I don't apply for that, even though I'm paying for it now. A couple bucks each pay period probably would be denied that. So do I budget and see if I can maintain the items that I got without being totally zeroed out and having to dig into my 401k as a loan? And then, of course, you keep your contributions and then you pay that back, right? What I would do is I would take what I needed out to pay off a lot of my, well, credit card debt, any debt like that, and then add up and do the math on the bills that I may need. You could project a little bit higher or lower, right? And then you'd pay yourself back on a lower interest rate. Obviously, I think the interest rate's like 6% on it, compared to like a credit card interest rate could be like 19 to 29% or whatever it might be, right? So, but it gets you thinking. Um, what's important to you when you go through something like this? Material possessions, like, do I need the nice newest clothes? Has that ever really helped me out? Has having the best thing on my body or the best truck that I could get helped me socially? Has it helped me any other really way besides boost your ego? Nobody cares. Nobody really cares. Everybody's in their own little world, right? And if they do care about it, that's a red flag that that's not a good situation or good friend or a good relationship that you need to be in my honest opinion. So yeah, a lot of things about that. You know, most people don't care. Most people don't care what other people are going through. I'm guilty of it. I try to be a little bit less like that because of the stuff I'm going in, but the only people that really do care about some of the stuff that you're going through is definitely your immediate family, maybe some of your distant family, obviously from checking up on it. But I have removed myself on social media before. I've limited it now, but like even on like Snapchat, you get oh, I should snap this and share it, and then I just stop myself. I'm like, why? Does it? Does anybody care? What am I doing this for? Because I want to get some serotonin or endorphins going when somebody likes it or comments it. It's like it's not important to what's important is your health and your wealth, right? And your your health is obviously your mental health, and then your physical health, right? You can't have one without the other a lot of times. And then, if you're going through a divorce or a zeroing out situation, you know, understand that it's usually temporary. It's not forever, hopefully, depending on your situation. This thing is burning very shittily, and I don't have my lighter over here, so I ain't gonna worry about it. But cheap cigar, what can I do? Um, it's a good cigar. I'm not gonna lie, it does pretty smooth. But anyway, you getting zeroed out. Financially zeroed out for sure through a divorce. Going through an operation, an illness. Right. A lot of times, depending how serious it is or non-serious it is, it's temporary. My situation, I'm thinking I'd rather have a little bit of pain for a lifetime of enjoyment, right? So I can sacrifice a year to get 40 more, right? And that's kind of the mindset that I'm in right now. So, um, I'll leave it at that. I don't want to make these extremely long, but if you have a similar situation that you can relate to, especially when it comes to zeroing out or anything else that I've said in this ramble session, just let me know. Leave me a leave me a like or a comment, I guess. Subscribe if you want, um, and then be on the lookout for my other YouTube channel. I don't know if I'll share it on here. I kind of want to keep these separate. These are kind of separate things. This channel is separate to the iRacing thing, but maybe I will. But yeah, if you guys something that you relate to out of this, shoot me a comment, send me an email. If I don't have my email posted, you can ask for it. Maybe I'll send it. I don't know. So um, anyway, everybody have a good day, night, whenever you may be watching this, and I'll talk to you again.